Let's be honest, for a lot of us, diving into the Old Testament can feel, well, a little intimidating. You've got these dense laws, super long genealogies, and stories that can be kind of hard to connect with. But what if the problem isn't the book itself? What if it's just the lens we're using to read it?
It's a totally fair question, right? I mean, it gets to the heart of what trips a lot of people up. We see all these rules and punishments, and sometimes God can seem a little distant, maybe even demanding. But is that really the whole picture? Or is there something deeper going on? Something that could change how we see the entire story? Okay, this right here, this is the shift that changes everything. The Old Testament isn't really a law book. At its absolute core, it is a covenant book. You see, a law is all about rules and what happens if you break them. But a covenant? Oh, a covenant is about a relationship. It's about a promise. It's about a deep, binding connection. But as soon as we start talking about a special covenant relationship, we run into one of the biggest roadblocks for modern readers. This whole idea of a chosen people. It can feel, well, kind of exclusive, maybe even unfair. So let's just tackle that one head on.
I mean, if God loves all his children, why would he single out just one group, the Israelites, for this special deal? Does that mean God plays favorites? It's a serious question, and it deserves a really clear answer. And thankfully, the key to unlocking that answer is found inside the covenant itself.
And that key, it's a single, incredibly powerful Hebrew word. It's a word so full of meaning that there's no perfect English translation for it. And once you grasp it, everything changes. The word is hesed.
So what on earth is hesed? The best way to think about it is as the loyal, emotional heart of the covenant. This isn't just love like a feeling that comes and goes. No, this is a tough, persistent, loyal love. It's a kind of commitment that basically says, I am bound to you, and I am never, ever going to let you go.
Now, we've tried to capture it in English. We use phrases like loving kindness or mercy or steadfast love. And look, those are all parts of it for sure. But not one of them really gets the full weight of a love that's defined by loyalty, by a promise, by a covenantal duty. It's a promise that's woven right into the fabric of who God is.
And this is where it gets deeply personal for you and me. As President Russell M. Nelson taught, when we make a covenant with God, we unlock this special kind of chesed. It's a two-way relationship, yeah, but God's side of that deal is a divine commitment. He will never tire in his efforts to help us. Just think about that. That's the power of chesed.
So now, what happens when we put on these chesed glasses and look back at the Old Testament? Whoa, the entire landscape it completely changes. Suddenly, the stories, the laws, the people, they all start to look different.
Here's how it all shifts. First, being chosen is no longer about some special status, like being in the cool kids club. It becomes a special responsibility to bless the entire world. Second, God's laws, they're not just a bunch of restrictions anymore. They become guidelines for creating a sacred space where he can be with his people. And third, that word peculiar, when the scriptures call Israel a peculiar people, it doesn't mean they're weird. It means they are God's valued property, his special treasure.
And with that lens, suddenly those long, boring genealogies aren't just names anymore. They are literally tracking a covenant family line. And those brutal tribal wars, they're not just random violence. They're part of the messy, imperfect, deeply human story of a people who are struggling and, often failing to live up to their side of this divine relationship. It's real, it's raw, and it's relatable.
Okay, so this might all seem like fascinating ancient history, but this is the part where the Old Testament story becomes our story. That covenant connection actually stretches all the way through time, right to our front door.
Just look at this journey on a timeline. It starts with this incredible promise made to Abraham. Then it's lived out imperfectly by ancient Israel. It finds its modern purpose in what prophets today call the gathering of Israel. And that line, it leads directly to you and the personal covenants that you make.
This is maybe the most vital thing to understand. When you read about the promises God made to Abraham, you are not just reading someone else's mail. If you have made covenants with God, you are a rightful heir to those exact same promises. You are the seed of Abraham.
And that is why the Old Testament is so incredibly relevant to us right now. Every single time we hear leaders talk about the gathering of Israel, it is a direct callback to these ancient promises. The Old Testament basically becomes a mirror, reflecting the same challenges, the failures, and the ultimate triumphs of our own journey with God.
So, let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways? First, the Old Testament is all about covenant, not just law. Second, that covenant is defined by Hesed, God's unwavering, loyal love. Third, being chosen means responsibility, not special status. And most important of all, this ancient story is your story.
And so, that leaves us with one last question to think about. Knowing that God is bound to you by Hesed, knowing that he will literally never tire in his efforts to help you, how does that change your story?